Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today I want to talk about the man on screen here, Christian Eriksen, of course the Danish Manchester United midfielder, who has had a pretty good start to the season. Despite not playing in those first two matches for Manchester United, in my opinion he's had a pretty good start to the campaign, and proven that he still has a big role to play in the Manchester United squad at the moment. Now I don't know whether or not that will come as a surprise or not really, because last season, he started the season so well, was absolutely brilliant, but then really crashed towards the end of the season. But again, the start of this season, he's playing well. So I think at the moment, he is very, very important to Manchester United. Not only that, also to Denmark as well. These are his numbers from the other day. Now, this was a game which Denmark won quite comfortably, but we can see that Eriksen got a goal, 2 assists, 143 touches, 91 out of 103 passes, which is an accuracy of 88%. 6 key passes, 6 out of 8 long passes, and 3 big chances created. That is the Christian Eriksen that we want to see for Manchester United. And to an extent we have seen it in the opening weeks, because in my opinion, he has improved his ability already to be a more high volume player, Someone who's happy to drop a little bit deeper, try and get on the ball and try and get involved. And in particular, in terms of from a United perspective, I think he's improved his ability in the first phase. Now, if you cast your mind back to last season, there were a couple of times where he was caught in these areas on the ball and really struggled. But already, I think he has got better in this area. I still don't think he's a specialist. I'm not sure that he ever will be. But he seems to have developed quite quickly a really good understanding with Onana in goal. And we can kind of see a couple of examples of this using Once Video Analyzer Pro, a top video analysis software which you guys can check out using a link in the description down below. As always, I highly recommend it. If you are trying to get into the world of analysis, this is the software for you to use to really take your analysis to the next level. Now, in this situation here, we can see that Victor Lindelof's got the ball kind of in a right centre-back position. Christian Eriksen's a little bit higher. However, as the ball goes backwards towards Onana, Christian Eriksen is going to take this as the trigger to drop a little bit deeper to try and get on the ball. Now, this stuff is all pretty simple. It's a simple pass from Onana into Eriksen, who plays the ball wide to Lindelof, who is now in space. But again, if you remember early last season against someone like Brentford, for example, where De Gea was giving Christian Eriksen hospital passes, really, and Eriksen was really struggling, this is a big change. It comes because Onana has better understanding of weight of pass and takes more care in the pass receiver. But also, Eriksen has improved his scanning ability in these areas, and therefore he's got better at moving the ball about in these areas to find his teammates. And it's helping United get out from the back. We've got another situation here, not quite the same, but something a little bit similar, where we can see United are going to play the ball into the feet of Christian Eriksen, who's going to drop to be the deepest midfielder. He plays the ball back towards Onana, and then continues to drop deep to offer the option for Onana to pass to him. Eriksen gets on the ball, receives on the turn, and then plays the ball forward, and does pretty well before then going backwards. Now again, this is pretty simple stuff, it's nothing groundbreaking, but what it is it's showing that he's willing to be the deepest midfielder. And this is something which we haven't seen when, for example, Mason Mount has played in the team. When Mason Mount has played for United in the opening weeks of the season, it's always been Casemiro being the deepest player in the first phase, the deepest midfielder in the first phase. However, the second that Christian Eriksen has come in, suddenly Casemiro starts taking higher positions and Eriksen is dropping deeper. So this is one of the reasons why Eriksen has already shown how important he can be this season, because in the opening weeks, he's the only midfielder which actually looks comfortable in these areas. So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFifa for 10% off when you order. Now this sort of midfielder which drops deep, gets involved on the ball and does a lot of work is exactly what United have been crying out for. Hopefully Sofian Amrabat will bring it to the side, and hopefully Kobe Mino as well. However, again in the opening weeks Eriksen is showing it, and he's doing things which he was doing last season well as well. For example, dropping into more of a left back position in the back three. There are situations where the left back, against Arsenal for example, it was Dalot, will push forward. Christian Eriksen will drop a little bit deeper outside of the structure to try and get on the ball. And this is proven with his numbers against Arsenal, which we have here. 52 out of 56 passes, which is 93% pass accuracy, but 68 touches, showing that he was much more keen and much more involved in the play, looking to drop deep and get on the ball. But importantly, it's that 93% pass accuracy. Now, this is something which he needs to develop still. He needs to become more consistent with this. because he does still have games where that drops a lot closer to 80. But if over this season, over the coming months, he can develop into this player, which really becomes a safe point on the ball, he could be perfect to help United control tempo in certain games. Let's say in a game where the opposition don't press as high and sit off a little bit, and you want to break them down, Eriksen could become the perfect midfielder to do that. The main reason he could be the perfect United midfielder to do this is because he does have a real understanding of tempo, and he's one of the few players in the team which does. We talk about it a lot. Mason Mount's a little bit too direct, Bruno Fernandes is far too direct, Casemiro is so loose on the ball it's unbelievable. Having someone like Christian Eriksen, who is happier to take his time and switch to play to the other side, but also keep short passes in these areas, is so important to what United are looking to do moving forward. It's not something he done so much earlier in his career. We saw it much more when he played for Brentford, and then in glimpses last season. If he can kind of secure and shore up his ability on the ball, make himself more consistent with his technical quality, there's no reason he can't be a big asset to United this season. I think in the summer, looking into it, we were thinking maybe he gets phased out this year, but after the opening few weeks, I've changed my opinion on that. I genuinely think he could be such an important player, particularly, depending on that Amrabat injury, that Kobe Minu injury. We just don't know how long they're out for. They might be back next week. We just don't know at the moment. But Eriksen, at the moment, in terms of the players we know are fit, is the only one which can drop deep and play this role, and that is so crucial to which Ten Hag wants to do. Eriksen also, though, and this is where he separates himself from the likes of Amrabat, is he's so good in the final third as well. This is why I think he could be particularly useful against low blocks. When teams are getting men behind the ball like this, they're trying to crowd out spaces, make it difficult to break them down. Christian Eriksen is someone who can find a pass. And I mean, we saw it in those Arsenal numbers there with the 2 key passes. We saw it against, for Denmark as well, 6 key passes and 3 big chances created. Those are really, really good creative numbers. He's got 5 goal contributions already in just 6 games in all competitions this season, showing that he started this season really on form. And that's why, again, I think he can still be so important to United this season. Now, unfortunately for Christian Eriksen, the thing which is going to hold him back and stop him being a true key cog in the side is just his physical side of the game. We know that he can't cover ground anywhere near as quickly as what he used to be able to. He still works hard, but he just doesn't have the intensity. He's not particularly intense in duels and doesn't win his battles. But also, like we saw last season, if he is asked to play too much football, he's going to really crash around February again, which United just cannot afford in their midfield. So this season, once players are back fit and back from injury, Ten Hag needs to do a much better job of protecting and rotating Christian Eriksen. And also, being selective with which games you play him in, When you're playing a team like Arsenal, for example. Now, I know Arsenal didn't press the other week, but typically you would expect Arsenal to be a physical, high-pressing side. That's the sort of game which doesn't suit Eriksen, because it means he's involved in a lot of duels, he's got to cover a lot of ground, he's got to do defensive transitions, again, covering a lot of ground, recovery runs, but also teams are going to kind of ask that question a bit more about, are you really press resistant? I don't think that suits him. However, like that game against Forest the other week, where, granted it was a weird game because Forest were 2-0 up inside 4 minutes, Forest then sat off massively, didn't really apply pressure, and sat off behind the ball. That then suits Christian Eriksen perfectly. So I think that's what Ten Hag needs to do with him this season. Should he be a regular starter for United? Not in my opinion, because I think physically, defensively, at times, particularly later in the season, it will be like playing with 10 men. However, pick and choose games for him to play in. Games, particularly in the Cup against lower level opposition, but also games in the Premier League, where you know you're going to have a bit more time on the ball, you're going to try and break your team down, there's less physical work and defensive transitions to do. Eriksen can play a big role, because he is more creative than someone like Mason Mount. He is more creative than someone like Amrabat or Casemiro or Kobe Minu. We know that he's probably the second most creative player in the squad outside of Bruno Fernandes. So having that in the midfield will be so valuable in certain games. So that's kind of my overall concluding thought on Christian Eriksen. He still has a big role to play this season, because there will be games where United control the ball, need to break a team down. Christian Eriksen is literally the perfect player for that. However, is he the perfect player in general in this United midfield? Is he the answer to Ten Hag's problems? No, probably not, because I just think there's too many games which will not suit him. Particularly, like the rest of us, he's not getting any younger. He's constantly aging, so physically, he is deteriorating a little bit in terms of, again, the intensity he plays with, the ground he covers. He is not suited to every game. I think it would be silly to try and claim that he is. However, what he has shown in the first few weeks of the season, the first month or so, is that he can still be such an important player for Erik ten Hag. Because when you're producing these numbers in important games for your club or your country, it really shows that form is temporary but class is permanent. And I think Christian Eriksen really captures that really nicely. He is still such a good player with so much to offer, and that is why I think Ten Hag will still use him this season, but as a rotation player. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think I'm maybe being a little bit harsh and he could actually play bigger games? He could play a bigger role in the squad than what I'm hinting at? Or do you think I'm being a little bit generous? Am I overreacting? Do you think he's been very average in the opening weeks and done quite easy jobs? Or am I spot on? Maybe a little bit unlikely. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. This video has been a little bit shorter, but I just quickly wanted to give my opinion on it. So yeah, that's it really. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.